So finally, let's come to the discussion on paper 2. So paper 2, you have no choice, just answer the compulsory question, DPQ and the essay. So you have to perform well so as to get a high grade in the DSE because you can't choose other topics. There's only one choice for you. So weather and climate, this time the DPQ is about drought and also about the temperature and rainfall characteristics of the two cities in China. So let's see. So figure 1a shows the location of city X and Y, the monsoon, as well as some socio-economic data of Hebei. And the figure 1b shows the monthly temperature of the two cities, so city X and Y, so the temperature data. Last one is the weather conditions around city X in July. So I will go through later. So let's start with the questions. So question A1, refer to figure 1A and table 1B. Contrast the temperature pattern. So contrast the temperature pattern. As you learn a lot, so should be the difference. So this question, most of you answer very well, and you can get 3 marks. So remember to work smartly. So use the data as blanket to show. So when we compare the temperature pattern, so we have to compare about the annual mean, annual range. So most of you can use mean, range, and some of you skip the last one. Is about some special features. Here is about any month is below 0 degree. So for city X, there's some month below some month are below 0 degree. So any 3 points with correct data. So overall, no big problem for this question. Most of you can get 3 marks. So and then we come to explain the difference. So I think you are prepared well about the temperature part, the temperature characteristics. So most of you can talk about the annual mean, make use of the angle of the sun, latitudes, duration of daylight. So I just found out some of you skip 1 point. So it's about the insolation spread over a larger area. For X. Or if you use Y, so insolation concentrate in a smaller area. So this one, quite a lot of you skip this point, but for others should be alright, no big problems. And because they have different in the mean and also for the range. So for the range, so you can also talk about is the land and sea different. But compared to the annual mean, so the range is not that significant due to the land and sea, but we can still compare. So we can see Y is more coastal. So we use the word stronger maritime influence. Or in marking scheme, sometimes they use moderated by the sea. So try to use some term that used in the DSC marking scheme. So they have a higher specific heat capacity. So some of you may skip this term. And then for the location of X, so they are more exposed to the northwest. You can see the direction, northwest offshore wind. Or you can talk about the winter monsoon. So if you can cover all these, so I think you have can able to get the 5 marks. So actually for question A1 and A2, most of you have no big problem. So what have you come to the question is on the next page, question B. So you failed to use the data well. So let's see, for B1, what climatic hazard was city X likely to experience in July 2019? So the climatic hazard city X experience. So the climatic hazard experience here, we can see that the keyword is the number of days with water shortage. So the blanket will refer to the long-term average. The long-term average is 11.2 days, but now it's more than 20 days. So the answer should be drought. So most of you can get this 1 mark. And the problem is here, your performance is poor in B2. How the deviation means that 偏離. How is the deviation of the weather condition of city X from the long-term average? So you need to tell how's the deviation. So we got the long-term average. How is it deviate? 佢要將佢同長時間嗰個嘅平均數值比較。So it's kind of comparison. So how is the deviation in July? And then cause the occurrence. So step number 1, do the comparison. Step number 2, so explain why drought. So why we have drought in the location? So understand, so you need to first compare. Now let's use the data one by one to explain. So first of all, the maximum temperature on July, you can see a lot of area. The maximum temperature should be maximum is more than 40, and then 35, 38. So this one it show you the temperature on that day. So and especially on, we can use one more data, the average temperature better. So this one we can see the comparison. So when we compare, so the temperature in July is higher. Okay, so this is the comparison. Step number 1, compare. So in July, the temperature is higher than the average. And then explanation. Why it caused a drought? So higher temperature will have more evaporation. Understand? More evaporation. So we'll have more moisture loss or water loss. Next one, the rainfall is much lower than the average. So lower than the average. So they will have a less water supply. To meet water demand. So saying number 1, compare. Number 2, step, so explain. Next one is about the wind condition. So the prevailing wind in July here is the offshore wind, northeast offshore wind. And then this one you have to combine with the situation from the long-term average. So we know that in July, suppose this place should experience the southeast monsoon。嘅正常情況下呢，佢應該係吹 southeast 嘅。But now they have the offshore wind. So what happened? What does it mean? So they will have the stronger wind from the offshore wind, which is no moisture, is dry, so will suppress the formation of rainfall. So it's dry, so we have less water supply or less rainfall on that period. So this is another one we found out about the wind. And the last one actually is given here. So they have a stronger sinking air. So this one you can get some hints directly from the figure. So because of stronger sinking air, so they will have less condensation, cloud formation, and of course rainfall. So combine all this, they will have lower water supply than the water demand. So that causes drought problem in the region. So make good use of the figure and then you can answer the question well. Last one, question C. So this one is a situation question, 情景題。Desalination plant. Oh, I found it is quite funny that your class don't understand about the word desalination plant. Desalination, the word saline means salt. De means removal of salt. Plant machines， 咁其實叫做海水化淡嘅設施啦，海水化淡設施。咁有同學咧就認為係一種咧叫做 drought resistant plant 係啦，咁佢就將 plant 解咗植物啦，係咁當然呢個字有兩個意思嘅，咁佢唔係解植物喺度，係解 machines。咁咧 desalination 咧就唔係話可以去鹽嗰啲嘅植物啦，係啦，咁係解海水化淡嘅工場啦，個工廠啦或者個設施啦。So they can produce about 4,000 tons of water, and the water should be clear water， 一啲嘅化淡即係一啲嘅 we call fresh water 啦，淡水 built in 河北。So with reference to figure 1A, 1B, and 1C, evaluate the effectiveness. Same every time when you take the question, evaluate, please take the standpoint. So please take your stance. Yes or no. Don't write down for effectiveness, for ineffectiveness. 唔好再寫 for 邊樣嘢 for 邊樣嘢，但你冇 take 個 standpoint。唔該你 take 咗 standpoint 先，然後講話 I think is effective 一紮講咗先 ，I think is not effective 一紮講咗先。係啦，唔好再兩邊講晒，但我都唔知你個立場喺邊度。講咗你個立場，再講你立場傾向嗰邊嘅答案。係啦，呢個係好緊要嘅個 impression， 唔係我睇唔到你又想答啲乜嘢。So why is it effective or not effective? So for the questions, we need to make use of figure 1A, 1B, and 1C. So let's see 1A. So for 1A, so why is it effective or why does it work? So we can see that the location of 河北. So let me clear this answer. So we can see the location of 河北省. So the desalination plants, they are along the coast. So actually they have the supply of seawater for desalination. 咁首先佢都係近海邊啦 ，so they can get the seawater for desalination, and then provide for the use to address droughts. So what are the usage? So you need to know people we call domestic. Here industry. So we just write down industrial use. So you must break down the use. So the desalination plant can help to address the drought because it can increase the water supply for domestic and industrial use. So this is the point that you can argue, or other point you find out from the figure. And then for most of you pick is ineffective. Why? Because you find out a key question. So the population is so large, imply that there is a high water demand. High water demand, especially for those industries. So they are heavy industry. So they need a lot of water demand for cooling machine. So they need a large amount of water for cooling machines. And then go back to the question. The amount of water they produce is only 4,000 something. So the supply is limited. Limited supply to meet the demand. So it failed to address the problems in the location. Very clear this point. Limited supply. Make use of the figure and argue it cannot solve the problem. And then you can see figure 1a. How about figure 1b and 1c? Let's see 1b. We found that the location for city X, so look at the summer temperature. So they are very high summer temperature. So imply that they have a high evaporation rate. So means the water, even though they got the water supply, they will have high evaporation when they store in the reservoir. So we have the moisture loss in the reservoirs. So even though they finish and produce, they will have a rapid loss. So same limited supply. Lastly, in figure 1c, there are so many useful data. I'll just pick some. So they will have the problem of, let me clean again. So for the location, so this place, for example, they have low rainfall than the past. The rainfall is unreliable. So although they have the supply from the desalination plant, so the local supply of water is also low. 就算有海水化淡呢，都解決唔到啦，因為本身佢嘅供應都係唔穩定嘅。So that's why it cannot address the problem of drought. So make use of the figure, okay, saying you can argue temperature, or you can argue about the wind, become an offshore wind that we cannot provide a stable water supply for the location. So how you can get high marks? Remember to use the data. 記住唔好自己作嘢啦，一定要用翻 data。就算最尾一條咧都係 data response 嘅，係啦，唔係憑空去答，係啦，亦都唔好再講話啲有冇錢啊，係啦，技術啦，係啦，因為做咗就做咗，係啦，咁除非係 given 咗個情況好窮，如果冇 given 咧就唔好再拗人哋窮啊嗰啲之類啦。So that's all for the DBQ, and finally let's come to the essay. So the essay, only one question, is about typhoon and typhoon and about cold fronts. So I think when you receive the paper, you found, wow, my fund is so low. Yes, because especially part 1, I can see it's about 18% of you misunderstand the questions. So the question is compare the usual weather conditions under the influence of tropical cyclone and cold front, okay, usual weather condition of Hong Kong. So once you see the word compare, you must start with for what, and then which one is higher. 你背咗佢啦，你哋唔好再分開兩段寫啦。No separate paragraph. for cold front and tropical cyclone. So this will give you 0 marks。唔係分開一段講，再係咁呢，你到 DSE 都係0分嘅啫，係用一樣嘢去比較佢哋得唔得？係啦，為香港帶嚟嘅轉變。So for the first part, so you need to pick some common point. So let's start with some easy one for air pressure. So compare which one will give a higher impact to Hong Kong, higher pressure to Hong Kong. So for tropical cyclone is a intense low pressure system. Cold front is a high pressure system. So for pressure, so you write down tropical cyclone brings a higher pressure. Sorry, tropical cyclone brings a lower pressure than cold front to Hong Kong. So because tropical cyclone is an intense low pressure system, and then for cold front is a high pressure system. So pick the common point for what, and then compare. 好多同學呢就分開咗兩段寫啦，就講晒 cold front 對香港影響，再講晒呢颱風對香港影響。咁係冇比較兩個對香港影響嘅不同，係兩個對香港影響嘅不同。用中文諗一次，比較兩個天氣情況對香港嘅影響嘅不同，係啦。So use the common point and compare which one brings a higher impact or lower impact. So the impact refers to the weather elements. So let's pick another one. It's about the relative humidity, for example. So for relative humidity, so tropical cyclones, it will bring along with a lot of convection currents. So it will bring higher average than cold front to Hong Kong. So reason, so because tropical cyclones, they will bring along with a lot of convective current. And then with the towering cloud, so they have the downpour 滂沱大雨啦。So all these they will have a higher average at that time, so as the rainfall intensity. Rainfall 咁同樣地降雨都係啦，颱風嘅降雨係強過cold front嘅降雨嘅。OK， 咁我哋個強度就用呢個字啦 ，intensity。強度 So higher intensity of rainfall by tropical cyclone than cold front. So remember to use the common point to do the comparison, not use a two separate paragraph. So why some of you I give you 0 mark because you are totally no comparison. So must be 0。要比較兩樣嘢對香港嘅影響，唔係兩樣嘢各自為香港帶嚟嘅影響，咁所以一定係0分㗎啦。So use the common point. And then the question here is compare. So the answer we want you to focus on the different. But in essay, so you need to also give some explanation. 咁你留意到 marking 咧，我哋都冇特別寫翻嗰啲 explanation 嘅。咁但我之前都講過啦 ，essay 個重點係一啲嘅展示啦，啲 explanation 啦。咁所以咧點都要加翻一啲解釋落去嘅。你見到我都有解少少俾大家抹落去啦，原因背後嘅原因係啦。咁所以就算佢用 compare 都好咧，因為我之前都問過 DSE 嘅嗰啲嘅 負責老師啦，咁所以佢話都要背後嘅 explain 咧係有影響到嘅。DBQ 就唔需要啦 ，DBQ， 但係 essay 咧個目的係一啲嘅展述性嘅題目啦、解釋啦，咁所以都背後要加翻落去點解背後係咁，清楚未？Okay, lastly, let's come to part 2. Explain how this weather system shape the seasonal precipitation pattern of Hong Kong. So these two, how they shape the seasonal. So the keyword is seasonal precipitation pattern. So first of all, we need to define the seasonal precipitation pattern. Of Hong Kong. So seasonal, Hong Kong, which season? We have higher rainfall. So we know that we have higher rainfall in summer. Higher rainfall in summer. And then relatively lower rainfall in winter. Then how the two systems brings a higher rainfall and a lower rainfall, so we match higher rainfall in summer is brought by tropical cyclone. And then lower rainfall in winter is brought by cold front. Brought by the cold front. Then explain how. So for tropical cyclones, you should talk about its characteristics and the formation of rain in summer. And usually they will bring a higher intensity of rainfall to Hong Kong. So the rainfall in Hong Kong is different in summer and winter time. So for the formation, briefly talk about the formation of typhoon. So it's the intense low pressure system at Pacific Ocean. Oh, I don't mark down the detail. And then the air movement. And then the rain, so the intensity is higher. So as a result, we got higher summer rainfall or higher rainfall in summer. And opposite for cold front, so same characteristic of cold front formation include their origin, where does it come from. So in general, it brings a low rainfall in winter. 整體咧，冬天係受冷風影響咧，其實係低嘅，呢個大家一定記住，要整體嚟講係低嘅。However, so when cold front sometimes meet warm air in Hong Kong, 呢個唔係一定會落嘅，咁但係有時係會落嘅，係啦。咁記住啦，冷風整體嚟啫都係非常凍嘅。但係咁啱香港空氣相對嚟講暖嘅話咧，咁就會有冷暖空氣相撞，就有呢個冷風雨啦。Meet warm air above Hong Kong, so we have some occasional frontal rain. Okay, occasional, but the rainfall is low intensity， 個強度唔多嘅啫。 係啦，灑幾浸啦，係啦，可能好輕微嘅雨啦，好短啦，有時會長啲嘅，但係佢落嘅雨勢好微雨嘅，係啦，微嘅細雨咯，we call low intensity. So in general, the rainfall is low in winter time. So you must address about the air movement, how the cold air meets the warm air in Hong Kong, okay, and the air uplift and cause the occasional frontal rain. So refer to the marking scheme. So this part is quite straightforward. But your formation of the rainfall is not so clear. So that's why I can't give you high marks. Be careful. So try to write down more explicitly about the formation and the difference of the rainfall brought by the two weather systems. Okay, so overall this question not performed well. Yes, so the highest mark is 7 out of 12. Quite a number of you part 1 0 because wrong comparison. So you only get marks in part 2. So learn again and present it better in your DS exam. So that's all for all the discussion. Saying, mark down any problems and let me know and adjust the mark for you later. So that's all. Hope you see you next week when you're coming back for your supplementary lesson. So see you all later.